Cities are defined by their cultures. Those cultures could entail sports or business or certainly arts and entertainment. Oklahoma City is thriving in all of these areas. But who makes that all happen? This Town OKC explores the people behind the cultures, their origins, their motivations, their challenges, and their dreams. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. I've been in this town for over 50 years with a front row seat to seeing the culture grow from a dusty bus stop on the Southern Plains to a flourishing destination. Join me as we meet the folks behind the culture on This Town OKC. Daniel Lapham, welcome to the rehearsal studio at Carpenter Square Theater.
Well, thanks, Rick. It's great to be here.
I have to say that This Town OKC is sponsored by Carpenter Square Theater, where we produce 8 shows a season, 10 performances of each show over 3 weekends. And you can find all you need to know at carpentersquare.com.
All right.
All right. To let everybody know, we have a history.
Yeah.
That goes back to when you were a student of mine and my wife Gwen's at Oklahoma City Community College.
In the early aughts.
In the early aughts, okay. So 20-something years.
Yeah.
Give or take. And you have been living my dream as the freelancer, traveling the world, working on all kinds of productions.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm a full-time sound mixer, freelancer, Swiss Army knife, all the things that go into production. I do a little of all of it, but for the most part, I'm a sound mixer for national networks. So I've worked a ton with CBS, ABC, NBC, the Weather Channel, ESPN, a few other alphabet soups.
Yeah, so exciting. So I want to find out your oral history. The purpose of this is your oral history. And I understand your history goes way back before you were ever born.
Yes. So, this is Oklahoma City.
Right.
I don't technically live in Oklahoma City right now. I live in Harrah, which is eastern Oklahoma County. I have lived in Oklahoma City off and on several times during my early adulthood, Paseo area and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very connected with Oklahoma City. I consider Oklahoma City home, but as well as all of Oklahoma County. But part of the reason is because I am 5 generations Oklahoma. My great-great-grandfather was the first mayor of Oklahoma City.
Couch.
William L. Couch.
We have a street downtown where City Hall is.
Yes, City Hall.
Named for Couch.
And the Arts Museum, the Oklahoma City Museum of Arts, is right on Couch Street.
That's right.
That whole little area is...
Right.
Part of the corner of the original homestead that he was killed over.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So he took place in the land run of 1889, and he lobbied Congress in Washington, D.C. to open the unassigned lands for settlement. David Payne actually started the Boomer movement in Kansas, in Wichita, Kansas, and William Couch was one of his board members, so to speak, was considered his second in command. And then whenever David Payne died suddenly of a heart attack, William Couch took over leadership of the Boomers in, I believe it was 1884, and then subsequently did a lot more incursions into Oklahoma territory, or the unassigned lands is what it was called then. And they did encampments to just basically create a presence and be a nuisance so that this issue wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
And then lobbied Congress and everything, and it actually ended up opening the April 22nd of 1889 land run.
Yeah.
So my family has very deep roots. There's some family members that have been historians throughout the years in my family, and so have been very instrumental in preserving the Couch side of my family's history and stuff. Juanita Sappington Couch is, I don't know, like a 6th cousin or something like that of mine, and she was a historian. Like that was her trade. So she had a doctorate in history, and she spent her life cataloging and writing down, keeping the family history alive for the Couch family. So We actually have a book called One Pioneer Family by her dad.
And let's get a
Couch.
close-up shot of that. Oh, wait a minute. This is
This
audio.
is
Audio only. Okay.
It's leather bound. It's beautiful. It's that is a total lie. So
it's paper, people.
It's paper. But it's invaluable in terms of, for me, because there's one of the crazy things that I think about in life is the day before we're born and 150 years ago has the exact same context to a person, because if they don't have an emotional connection to it, because they have no memory of it. So once we have a memory of historical events, of things in life, we create a living history that connects our emotions, it connects our identity and all that to things. So, like, the 95 Murrah bombing, I lived it. I remember it. I know where I was. So it has a whole, different context to me when I think about that. I have emotions, I have feelings. Whereas, in the 70s, a lot of things happened that I don't have. I was born in 79. I don't have a memory of any of that. In the 80s, things happened that were early on. I don't have a memory of, so they have no connection. So history to me is one of those things where we can take things that happened before, but we can, whenever we study it, we get the stories, we understand the context, we talk to family members and get firsthand accounts or secondhand accounts, then we can create a narrative that weaves threads in our identity that makes it come alive for us. And that is how you keep your identity, your family history, all those things alive. And so that's what's really cool to me, as far as having that kind of a rich heritage of my great-great-grandfather being the first mayor of Oklahoma City, leader of the Boomers, all these things. And there's a lot of documentation around it, but it's also been effective in other areas of my life to dig and to research. And I'm kind of an amateur historian now with other parts of my family and stuff like that, because I've seen what that does whenever you start to bring it to life, and how it can really be a part of who you are and connect you to the past. So,
okay, since this is your oral history, let me get into it with where you're from, and let me advise you, be brief. I don't need to know the name of every grade school teacher.
Well, there's only one, so that's a pretty short list. I'm from Harrah, Oklahoma. I was not born there, in the house, but I was born close by. I'm one of three. I have a sister, older sister, and older brother. I'm the baby. They got it right with me, so they quit. And my brother and I were both homeschooled all the way through. We both got our GEDs. Call them good enough diploma. But we both were products of the vocational educational system. So it was VOTEC. Went to EOC, and I did construction technology, which is carpentry. I have done pretty much absolutely nothing with carpentry. I'm more into the electronic side with audio. So that's, yeah, go ahead.
So after you got your GED, what then? Okay,
so I got my GED and graduated from EOC with carpentry. I fit a 2-year degree into 3 years, and so I did 3 years of OTEC. And then when I got out, I was just I was wild. I was rebelling. I was just kind of having fun with life. I guess you would say. So my parents were like, you're 18, you need to figure out what the heck you're going to do with life. And so I always wanted to be a firefighter. So I was like, well, hey, I'll go. EOC had a program where you could get a discount to continue to do something else. So I took my EMT basic, and I failed my national boards by 2 points. And instead of retaking it, retaking it, and going on and continuing, because at the same time, I had applied for the Oklahoma City Fire Department. I was all gung-ho. I'm like, I'm going to be a firefighter. Well, I was one of, I think, 2,000 applicants, and I did not get a call back.
Oh, wow.
And so that just kind of woke me up to the reality of how competitive it is. But my friend shows up at my house one day in a 69 Volkswagen bus and says, hey, man, I'm moving to Colorado. You want to come? And I looked around and was like, well, I don't have a job. I'm living with my parents again, because I had moved out and then I had moved back. I was like 19. And I was hanging out with some some wild people. Some of my friends were getting in some legal trouble, and that's all I'll say about that. So I was like, I should probably disappear for a while. Yeah, let's go. So we took off in his bus and headed for Colorado. We ran out of gas in Denver. I I laugh because I remember how we got money for gas. We had hemp, and this is back in the 90s whenever like hemp necklaces and all that kind of stuff was like a thing. So I would, like, while he was driving, I would braid hemp necklaces with like beads and stuff, and then we would switch, and I would drive and he would braid hemp and do wire wrapping and stuff. And then whenever we were at gas stations, we'd pull over to gas station and we would sell our hemp necklaces at the gas station to buy gas. So we ran out of gas in Denver, and we're kind of looking around, sponging and selling our hemp bracelets and necklaces. And we're like, man, this place is kind of dirty. We don't know if we want to be here. And so we were talking to people, and they're like, hey, there's tons of jobs in the mountains. So the mountains meaning like Summit County, which is where Keystone Resort is, and Breckenridge and all that. So we got enough money to fill the tank up, and we took off for the mountains, and we ended up running out of gas in Silverthorne exit. And we're like, all right, well, we made it anyway, so we're here. So we ended up, I ended up staying for like 3 years and working resorts and all that. Well, within 3 months of my first season in '99, I ended up working from like spin and din is what they call it, which was like a ski tech, setting up rental skis and all that, to being assistant manager. And so really fast from like not knowing anything to assistant manager. And I'm like, well, this is awesome. I'll just stay here and do this forever. Well, I hit a ceiling rapidly, and they wouldn't promote me past assistant manager because I didn't have a college degree.
Right.
I could not get past a certain level. And so my parents said I could move back home if I bettered my life and did something with it. So I moved back to Oklahoma and started actively seeking higher education so I could go travel the world and work resorts. That was my plan. I was gonna get my bachelor's degree or whatever degree I needed to go do resort management, and work on cruise ships or work at ski resorts or surf resorts, and because there's people that right. make their entire career and life traveling the world and working resorts, and I'm like, that'd be awesome. So I landed at OCCC in 2002, the fall of 2002, as an adult student. I already knew Ronna Austin. She was the mother of a friend of mine in high school, and so she was the student advisor for the Pioneer, the student newspaper. So, I would stop by the newspaper and hang out with her and say hi and all that, but I didn't really have any interest in being in journalism. I was just like saying what's up. Was just taking my basics, figuring life out. And I really liked my English comp and my English comp lit. My professor was Richard Roulard, and he was, kind of a Sean Connery type of guy. Like, he, just like gray beard and like very literary and very, just a cool dude. Like, and he's really smart and really good writer. And I looked up to him, and so I wrote essays for the class and everything. And I realized that I really loved to write. I really liked the idea of either reading something or figuring out something you're interested in and then like writing about it. So to me, I have an incorrigible curiosity. So I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I'm, in my 40s, and the whole reason that I gravitated toward what I do now is just because I have an insatiable curiosity to figure out what's happening, what people think, what people do, what's over the horizon, all that. And so writing afforded me to be able to read something or talk to somebody and then say what I thought about it. And so after I was done with those classes that were requirements for an associate's degree or whatever, I was like, well, I'm not done. I want to write more. So they had journalism classes. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to take them for fun. And so I took a news writing class with Clay Randolph, and I liked it. And so I will never forget Joe Haidt, the managing editor of the Oklahoman, came in and did like talked to our class and kind of gave his life story a little bit. And the assignment was to write a feature on him, and the best one in class would get printed in the Pioneer, and you would get an opportunity to interview to be a staff writer. And so I would jokingly was looking around. I'm like, hey, just put your pens up because I'm going to win this. And I was just being a stupid kid, but I ended up winning it. And I think I pulled Joe aside afterwards and like asked if I could buy him a cup of coffee and just talk to him more, and ended up writing all this stuff about him. So I got the interview to be on staff at the Pioneer, and of course I knew Rana, so I'm sure she was like overlooked all my inadequacies of writing and everything, and said, yeah, we'll give you a shot. So I changed my major to journalism, and I ended up being the editor for the Pioneer.
Right.
And then I took a bunch of stuff with your wife, Rick, with Gwen, and some advertising stuff, some radio. I ended up loving the radio stuff, so I actually did like one day of volunteer radio for 91 FM. It was a Christian radio station. I did nighttime 91 on Sunday nights to Monday morning, from like midnight to 4 a.m. And so I had tons of people listening. I think I had like one listener.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, just did that, and just ended up really loving the process of telling stories that I'm interested in and that matter. And
you took my video production class.
Yes, I did. And that was my first video production intro. First time that I ever edited anything or shot anything was for Rick Lippert. And again, my insatiable curiosity and the prerequisite of anything that I do, I just want to do it because I'm curious, right? And it's an adventure. And that opened up a whole nother side of the adventure, because there's writing about something, but then there's actually like shooting it and capturing all the pieces of the puzzle, right? So the audio, the video, the writing that you have to write to put it all together.
Exactly.
And then what I consider so you're creating the puzzle pieces, then you're putting all the pieces together and editing. So I love the editing process, and Rick introduced me to that world, and I still edit to this day. That was 20 years ago.
Hey, no need to be ashamed of how long you've been in the business.
Yeah, it's been a while.
This year marks my 50th year.
That's
in the
incredible.
Business. Yeah.
That's incredible. I hope I'm in it for 50 years.
Yeah, I hope so too. So after OCCC, you went to OU, right?
Yeah. So OU ended up giving me some really good scholarships. I got some transfer scholarships because of their connection with OCCC, and ended up going to OU. I got there, and a lot of the students at OU were like joint students at OCCC for different classes, and a lot of them worked at the OU Daily. Well, my whole thing whenever I went, I was like, I'm going to not write. I'm going to like focus on my education and like figure out, maybe even go into video and stuff. That was kind of like my idea. I'm a journalism major, you're supposed to be able to write. I'm a good writer, but I'm not good at the whole constructs of grammar and stuff like that. So
you exemplified the phrase "everybody needs an editor."
Sue Hinton always said, "Every good writer deserves a good editor." That is a Sue Hinton quote, and I always use that because I'm like, yeah, I'm a good writer. I'm terrible at grammar. So they put me on the copy desk, and I'm like, this is going to be a disaster. But it was a lot of fun, and I actually got better at grammar because I was forced to actually, proofread and learn and, do what you're supposed to do in college. I did end up doing a lot of broadcast stuff. A lot of my friends were broadcasting majors, TV news majors. The whole thing is, I don't know how many of our listeners understand the process, but the more accomplished you become in the business, the less you have to do. When you're starting out, you have to do everything. So the students, when you're in TV, they wanted to be on camera, but they had to run their own camera. They had to write their own stories. They had to do their own audio. Everything was just them. So what I did is I made friends with all the people that wanted to be on camera, and I'm like, I'll shoot your video so I can learn how to shoot it, and you can be on camera. And they're like, awesome. So there was no, I wasn't getting no credit, but I was learning how to sequence, how to shoot, how to do all this stuff by just helping them do their stuff. And so I did a lot of that.
And then you graduated.
And then I graduated in '06. I applied for radio jobs, I applied for TV jobs, and I applied for newspaper jobs. And because I just wanted to get out and make something of the world. While I was in college, I had a son. Like I needed to work. Ended up getting a job at the Muskogee Phoenix in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And so as soon as I graduated in '06, I moved to Muskogee. Then girlfriend and her daughter and my son moved with me to Muskogee. So I was there for like a year. And so ended up moving back to Oklahoma City in '07 and started working for the Dyers, Ray and Sean Dyer, at the El Reno Tribune. And so I went from being a feature reporter in Muskogee, which I really loved because it was long form. It was like doing arts and entertainment and, the prettiest flower in Muskogee type stories, to doing city council meetings, county commissioner meetings, school board, that kind of stuff. And so as a city reporter, I wasn't super thrilled about that jump at first, but I fell in love with the community of El Reno, and I actually really enjoyed it because I got to see the depths of how important community journalism is to the way that our world works, and I got to be a part of that. And so that still to this day is a huge foundation of like why I do what I do and how I view the world is what I learned then is because of, just I worry about the future of our world because the infrastructure and the models of watchdog journalism, the Fourth Estate, somebody being there at every city council meeting, somebody being there at the school board meetings and the county commissioners is broken. There's nobody paying for somebody to be there and keep people accountable. And so I saw firsthand how important that was, and now there's tons of communities and counties and towns that don't have anybody like watching out for people.
Yeah. How long were you in El Reno?
So I was there a few times. I was there from '07 to '08, so a year, and then that's how I got into TV. While I was there, somebody slipped a manila envelope under my door and that said the OETA was hiring for the Oklahoma PBS station was hiring for a documentary producer. Not really, they didn't really do that, but it was kind of one of those like somebody slipped me a note that said that they were hiring, and so I did some research and found out they were hiring for a photojournalist and editor for the documentary department at OETA. I did video in college. Rick showed me how to edit. I'm good. So I was terrible. I had a really I think three pieces that were on my demo reel. It was awful, but I put my packet together with my demo reel and my resume and all this and sent it and heard nothing. Crickets. I called them every week for like a month, and I think they just got tired of me calling, and so they said, yes, we'll give you an interview. I went in for an interview. They interviewed me and asked me my qualifications, and I was like, pretty much the answer to every question that they asked me was, well, I don't know, but I can learn. Well, no, but I can do that maybe if you teach me. And so so there was this commercial back in the 90s that was for one of the business colleges, and this girl goes in for an interview, and it's like, can you do this? And she's like, well, no. Can you do this? Well, no. And she says, but I have a brilliant personality. And I actually used that line in my interview and said, well, I know it looks like I can't do this stuff, but I have a brilliant personality. And I got the job.
Yeah. and ultimately was awarded an Emmy.
Yes, I got an Emmy for one of the pieces that I worked on there. Was nominated for probably 6 at least Emmys. Was able to sit at the feet of some amazing storytellers, being Dave Temez being among the top, and Boots Kennedy and Derek Watson, and even Christy Mitchell. Who's Christy McGahan now, but she's actually who I won the Emmy with. She was the editor and the producer for the piece that I won. Yeah, I mean, when you work with people, it's not really your Emmy; it's everybody's. Like, because I was just one piece of the puzzle. That's one of the things that I say in life, and I really from the bottom of my heart feel that I'm not super talented. I'm not super skilled. I'm you know, more of a Swiss Army knife than Snap-on. I can do a lot of things, but, you know, not nearly as well as other people. But I have been blessed with being able to be friends with, work with, and connected to some of the most talented, amazing, awesome people in the world, like Rick Allen Lippert right here that I'm on a podcast with. So it's less about what I've brought than it is about being able to be connected with cool people and being able to ride their coattails.
How long were you at OETA?
So I was at OETA from 2008 to 2012.
Okay.
I think.
So about 5 years?
Yeah, about 5 years.
And then where did you go?
And then I went to a company called Jasco Products, consumer electronics retail company that
makes accessories.
Yeah, they make accessories and or brand accessories with the GE brand and several other brands that sell globally at like Walmart and Target and Lowe's and Home Depot and all that.
And they're located up in North Oklahoma City.
Yes,
next to Edmond.
Yes.
And then how long were you there?
So I was there for, I think, 2 years.
Okay. And then what? And
then I went back to the El Reno Tribune to do video for their website and stuff, and moved to El Reno and did all that. And I was there for about a year. My dad ended up getting sick. He passed away in 2015. And so my mom was alone. So my siblings, my brother and sister and I all got together and you know, trying to figure out what we're going to do with everything. I ended up moving out there in, I think, May of 2015. I started burning the phone up and calling people that I knew that were freelancers and being like, hey, you know, this is going on. What do I need to do to be a freelancer like you? And they just laughed and said, well, we don't need competition. I was like, well, what do you need? Like, what can I do to work with you and not against you? And unanimously, everybody was like, well, we don't need competition as camera or anything, but we could always use a good sound guy.
Yeah.
So in 2015, I started working with Mark Weiss as his first call sound mixer, national network camera guy. Then it just kind of took off from there. I thought it was as easy as like putting mics on people and you know, plugging in a mixer to a camera. And back then it kind of was for that level. But then I pretty quickly realized whenever we were out covering news, national events, and, you know, floods and all that, I started meeting people from all over the country and realized that there's a whole career field of production sound mixers. It's different. It's not, when you think of sound mixer, you think of a big console and like a rock concert, right? Or like a studio with like a big console where you're doing, you know, but there's a
64 channels.
Yeah. There's a whole world of production sound mixing with films, with you know, documentary, reality, where there's a guy with a mobile mixer, usually Sound Devices. It used to be Shure, then it was Sound Devices, and then Zaxcom is another. So there's a few different manufacturers, but it's a mobile setup with wireless stuff, with a boom like pole, and you are literally a one man army of capturing everything that you hear whenever you're watching something. And I was able to see how deep the well goes and dive in and enjoy it. And it was, again, back to college and going and deciding I wanted to try to figure out how to write stuff. It was literally just diving in for an adventure and trying to figure something out and being able, one thing being a tool for something else. So that was a tool for me to be able to provide income to go live at my family's farm and go travel the world, because I love to travel. I love meeting people. I love new experiences. If there's anything that's like sums me up in a word, it's like I'm down for an adventure. And so that's it.
The word go is big in your vocabulary.
Yes, let's go. Absolutely.
So the freelance world is, tenuous at best. It's either feast or famine.
It's frenetic.
Yeah. I'm sure you've had those lean times when you wondered, you look at the calendar and you see nothing booked for the whole month. And then 2 days later, the whole month is booked.
That is a great illustration of what it looks like. And some years are better than others, and some months are better than others.
Of course.
And you know, it's from July of 25 to December of 25 was really a lean time. We're in 26 now, and things are starting to pick up.
Good.
And so, you know, but there's all kinds of speculation as to why things are how they are or whatever. But the reality is, at the end of the day, it's kind of like made for me, because I try not to pay too much attention on looking at all the ways that I'm not employed. I just try to, you know, take care today.
And because of that lean period in the last half of 25, that's when you had the opportunity to work with me recording sound on a film that I was helping to produce. It was called Chimera by my friend Ann Lauer. We shot it in a home in Quail Creek in June of 25, and you did the location sound.
And it was awesome. Like, it was such a fun experience. Like, I mean, known Rick for 20 plus years, and like great friends and people that I admire. And so whenever Rick approached me to do sound on this
right
film,
here. You can.
Whenever you approached me,
yeah, okay.
My bad. Whenever you approached me to do the sound on this film,
you jumped at it.
I jumped at it. It was like it was a dream come true, because like we've always talked about wanting to work together and stuff, and so this was an opportunity for us to really do something together, and that was really cool.
And that film is on the festival circuit as we record this, and it has picked up some awards.
Awesome.
It's still nominated for some others, and it's undecided for even more. As part of your freelance gig, you have worked with a lot of networks, and you managed to spend a year in Uvalde, Texas.
Yes.
Documenting that horrific school shooting down there.
Yes.
And you spent a year with ABC down there. And didn't you say you lived down there for a year?
Yeah. So that the Robb Elementary School shooting happened May 24th of 22. And whenever something like that happens, breaking news, whatever, as a freelancer, the phone starts blowing up. At about noon, 1 on that day, phone starts ringing, and it's ABC. Of course, all the networks called, but ABC was first. And so they were like, "How quick can you get to Uvalde, Texas?" I'm like, "Uvalde, what?" And so I had to look it up on the map, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm about 12 hours away. So Texas is really big, in case you didn't know.
And it's way out there.
Yeah. So Mark Whaley is a camera guy that I work with a ton. I consider him, you know, my work partner. We do a ton of national network stuff together. I'm sound. He's camera. So he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, we're hitting the road. Let's go." Like, you know, we'll he lives up by Tulsa, so we ended up merging paths somewhere down around Wichita Falls, Texas, and we're booking it to Uvalde. Just started doing breaking news, so doing which it consists of doing lots of live hits and you know, press conferences and interviews with people that are witnesses and all that kind of stuff. Within 2 days, it's just a complete media circus. Like, you know, media from all over the country and everywhere is there. And so we're figuring out what's going on. Well, some really smart, really talented journalists got together and started asking the question. So many of these school shootings continue to happen. It's always helicopter journalism, where you helicopter in, you cover the story, and then you helicopter out. And then the community is left to pick up the pieces. Send a correspondent in 6 months to go, you know, do an update, but that's it.
Do a check-in.
And so they started asking the questions, what happens if we stay? If we cover this community on the day in and the day out of what happens in a community and to a community whenever the unthinkable happens? Jim Hill out of Chicago Bureau approached Mark and I and asked if we would be willing to stay and switch over to long-form documentary style coverage. And we're like, heck yeah. So I'm also a Part 107 drone pilot as well as a sound mixer. I can also shoot and, you know, run gimbal and Steadicam stuff. My skill set parallels and complements Mark Whaley's really well because he's got an incredible eye and really good gaffer and lighter. So we stayed, and it ended up turning into the Uvalde 365 project with ABC, where they had set up a bureau in Uvalde, Texas, where office space, storefront. There was producers from all over, so it was a big team. But Mark and I were the only dedicated crew that were not shooters and producers. There was tons of stories for Nightline and for GMA and World News, and then for all of the peripheral shows and everything. All of the ABC shows. And so we were feeding that for a whole year. And then the Emmy that we ended up winning was for the 2020 that came out of that, called It Happened Here, A Year in Uvalde. Mm-hmm. And that title actually came from, we were sitting around talking about the experience kind of toward the end, because we'd already shot it and everything, but that we were working a title. And one of the things that I continued to hear from people throughout the community was, you see school shootings happen and all this stuff, but we never thought it would happen here. We never thought, because this is just your quintessential small town America, small town Texas, and so that's where it happened here, because it happened here.
It happened here, yeah.
So,
what was it like winning a national Emmy? Because the Emmy you won at OETA was a regional Emmy.
Correct.
And not to cast, aspersions on that, because I have one of those as well. But
awesome.
But it's great.
No, it feels good to be.
It changes your obit right away.
Right on. Emmy winning.
But now you have a national Emmy for a very important project.
Well, I wish I didn't have it, if it meant that tragedy never happened. I got to meet some incredible people, the families of the victims and some of the victims themselves, the teachers and stuff, and some of the students that were in the school. I just kind of consider Uvalde a second home now, because there's just amazing human beings. It is absolutely the best, worst year of my life.
How did the town accept you? And I imagine they did eventually. What was that acceptance process like?
That is a great question, and it's hard for me to quantify going into something like that, and I don't think about it. Like, the way that I approach something like that is I'm just me. Like, I have a theory that the best way to approach anything in life is authenticity and just be you. The more that you try to be something that you're not, or the more that you try to, well, if I'm like this and they'll like me, or if I'm like, then that's the quickest way to never.
Right.
Yeah. So to me, the way I approach it is I just went into it being me and just being respectful and being kind and just listening.
I would imagine, though, that there was apprehension on the part of a lot of locals.
Yeah.
Who are these people? What are they doing here? They're just exploiting us. And I imagine it took time for them to change their minds on that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of trepidation and a lot of, aren't you guys gone yet? Like, we're sick of the media. Get out of here. Go home. What started to happen, though, as we stayed longer and longer, and one of the reasons that they made the decision to just keep one crew, and because it was probably a lot more expensive for them to keep just Mark and I staying at a hotel. We stayed in a Hampton Inn we came home I just came home to see my wife and stuff and my family. But for the most part, we were staying 2-3 weeks at a time in a hotel.
Right.
So with that process, it probably would have been more economically beneficial to, bring people in from San Antonio or wherever. But because the community got used to us and stuff, it created a level of trust, and there's something to that, to creating a normalcy and a level of trust whenever you're there. And so there was by the middle of the summer, we were seeing people at the HEB and calling us by name and giving hugs, and it became a home.
Yeah.
And so there's a level of trust that comes out of that too.
I like your statement that you just said about I wish I didn't have it, the Emmy.
Yeah.
So I want to wrap this up with a couple of questions that will take us into a different direction altogether.
Okay.
Since you spent a year in a hotel and you've done a lot of traveling as part of your freelance gig, going into disaster areas.
Yeah, I haven't looked up the number of nights that I've spent in hotel beds, but I've got millions of miles. So
my question to you is, what's your favorite go-to suitcase?
Wow. Are we going to get sponsored?
No, afraid not.
So for all the flash and flare that I bring to my brilliant personality, I'm actually a pretty practical person. So the one I have.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, but that also leads me to another question. I stayed at a hotel, a Holiday Inn in California one time for 2 weeks working on a project. And I got into my routine because I was there for 2 weeks. You're in a place for a year, better part of a year, with a few breaks here and there. What was your daily routine like? Was there such a thing as an average day?
that is a great question. Not really, because things fluxed depending on whether what shows we're working on. Because so we're doing GMA, then that's like a 3 a.m. call because it's Eastern time.
Sure.
So you're back timing everything. So like if you have a 6 a.m. hit, then two hours before, so that's 6 a.m. Eastern time. So that's 5 a.m. your time.
Yeah.
So then you're back timing that 2 hours. So that's 3 a.m. So you got to be on site at 3 a.m. to start setting up everything, because you got to fax out all the audio, all the community, everything. Yeah. So that's one schedule. But then you might do world news, which is a whole nother schedule because that's in the evening. You might do both and then nothing in the day. But then you might have press conferences throughout the day. But then you might do a 2020, which is like interviews stacked out throughout the day. So no, there is no average day. There's no average day. Okay. But that's part of what I love about is literally every single call, every day, every job. I mean, let's just take the last 2 weeks. I have done an ABC shoot for an Impact, which is a Nightline program, which is like on a murder that like a serial killer. Okay. And we did an interview with a first generation punk rocker that was in San Francisco in the 70s during this time. And now she lives in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Okay. So I got to go to Fayetteville and meet this like first generation punk rocker that's like in her 60s. Yeah. And she's awesome. Yeah. It's like she's still in a punk band. Right. Like, so did that. Worked with Serge Ibaka on a cooking show. Okay. Worked on a documentary with the Thunder for ESPN for a show that's going to be coming up on like a documentary on the connection of the Thunder in with the Oklahoma City community and stuff. I can't really say too much about it, but it's a documentary. So did some industrial stuff with heavy equipment. So the variety that I get to do on a day, like on a daily, weekly basis, is work. Like to me, it's an adventure. I never know what's going to happen, and it's fun. It's so awesome.
So last question, and I don't want to make I don't want this to become a master's thesis. Okay, but
I'll try.
I want to wrap this up full circle, as Aristotle talked about the circle of storytelling.
Sure.
How do you see your family history and your interest in history affecting your decision to go into documentary filmmaking?
That is an excellent question. And it's almost a chicken and an egg, because the more that I've gotten into storytelling and documentary production and all this stuff, journalism, feature writing, the more I've been interested in the power of narrative to tell stories and to create identity and to connect the threads of narrative with the world, right? And so out of that, the more I have become connected to my family story because of understanding how that works. But then I think also the roots of my family story help bring me to that place to go full circle. So I think it's I don't know which one came first, but I think they all fit really nicely. Like I've been doing some interviews with some of my oldest family members to get their firsthand accounts of the family history and stuff that they received from their uncles and parents and stuff 50 years ago. So, because they had another 50 years before that.
Right.
So I hope to do a documentary one day of my family history and stuff. I also would love to do, I may talk to you about doing some Western stuff because I want to do a Western called The Territory on that era of Guthrie and all that. And so maybe we can go full circle with you getting some horses and some gunfighters together, and we'll work together again. So we'll see.
Daniel Lapham, thank you so much for spending an hour with me here in the rehearsal studio at Carpenter Square Theater.
Thanks, Rick.
This Town OKC is edited by Fred O. Bishop, sponsored by Carpenter Square Theater. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. This has been a Lippert Media production.